Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TV Scout and MMA, and
the Guru back again for UFC 288 from Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center. We've got Aljamain, the Funkmaster Sterling, defending his bantamweight belt against Triple C. Henry Cejudo looking to reclaim that title. And we've got the title contender eliminator 5-round co-main event. Belal Muhammad taking on Gilbert Butns. But before we can get into this absolutely unbelievable card, we've got half the battle's own best fight picks, Daniel Levy. What is good, my brother? Good to see you again.
Oh, man, it's great to be on here, man, and see y'all. And I know y'all are probably more excited, man. Y'all are going to this event in person, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Let's go.
We will be there. We finessed yet another like snipe deal type situation. Got some good seats, good value. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the value. That's how we talk around here. So yeah, man, we had to do it.
That's awesome. Are we excited for Braxton Parker? Of course we are. Let's go. Thanks for checking in, Lundo. Appreciate all you guys in the chat. And before we get down to business here, as we go top to bottom, make sure you like and subscribe. And if somehow, some way you're on this show right now and you're not already subscribed to Half the Battle out on YouTube, Best Fight Picks out on Twitter, make sure you're following this guy because I don't really know anyone else that's been in the game longer, more respected, and just like a down-to-earth, really good dude. Love hanging out with Dan.
Also a Dirty Braves fan, but you know, we'll let it slide for the moment because he's gonna hit us with some winning picks. So we'll let it slide for the moment. But yeah, man,
don't even let me get a word in about that.
Nothing. There's nothing to be said, man. You guys, you are. I am your like the Mets are their like their child. Like it's okay. Like right. You just beat us like a redheaded stepchild. We know it's okay. It remains unsaid. I mean, as it's printed all over your hoodie, it remains unsaid.
Our child and the Yankees' little bro.
Yeah, basically.
That's it. And listen, guys. I mean, we know you didn't come here for Guru and Dan to be shit talking about baseball, but honestly, welcome to the spicy lifestyle because it's just gonna keep going this way throughout all the fight breakdowns.
Speaking of spicy lifestyle, listen, if you got it, you know, do what you're doing, man. You know, do it safely and do it well. So let's get into it.
Hell yeah. I mean, without further ado, it's Chronic Combat, man. You got to celebrate appropriately. And we got, it almost sounded like you said the Funkmaster, but it's Aljamain, the Funkmaster Sterling versus Henry Triple C Cejudo. Guru wants me to mention his nickname used to be the Messenger, but
I do.
He's got a better nickname these days. That's Chronic Combat Conversations. You can catch the drift. I think, you know, Triple C aligns at this stage. So
he's been secretly like my dream guest to have on the show because I think he would love that we're the Triple C podcast.
Right. And he is a genius. But anyways, what we really came for is this fucking main event, the Bantamweight Championship. We got Aljamain Sterling, Henry Cejudo, and man, the line has been slightly sliding, but you couldn't really get a closer one without it being even. You got -115 Cejudo, -105 Sterling. The over 4.5 at -160 with the under 4.5 at +130. I mean, you look on paper and right away, the physical advantages just stand out. You got Sterling. He's 3 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller. He's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage, according to UFC stats. I trust them a little bit more than Tapology when it comes to the reach. And yeah, he's got a 2-inch leg reach. Henry Cejudo, if he's the guy that he's always been, then man, is -115 going to be like a gift from the gods type of idea. But where do you think he's at in his return, Guru? Or do you think Cejudo's someone we could bank on at this point?
You know, it becomes quite interesting when you have to bank on that, right? Because your typical 36-year-old, he's going to have a decline off after 3 years off. But what about Henry Cejudo is normal or typical? He's your gold medal winning Olympian wrestler. I mean, he's Triple C, two championships in the UFC, like defended each belt. Bro has time and time again proven haters wrong and showed up to be the ultimate competitor. He's not. Why retire and come back? Does he need the money? I don't fucking believe that. I think he absolutely wants to test himself. I think he's got the competitive itch, and it's not McGregor trying to keep his brand active. This is somebody that is out here trying to make he just wants to fight. He wants to win. I think he said to media reporters, leave my name off the pound for pound list after I win this week. Like, he doesn't, it's not what he's after. You hear Aljamain Sterling talk about retirement in 2-3 fights. You hear Henry Cejudo saying, give me Sean O'Malley, give me Volkanovski, give me,
Yeah.
It's just, that's a lot of narrative before it is a lot of technical breakdown.
Right. So I was going to say, I mean, I just wanted to get out of the way. It's very obvious. There's a lot of things stacked up against Cejudo here when you look at it from a narrative standpoint, for sure. And even when you look at it from a technical standpoint, I mean, Sterling, he's an extremely athletic grappler. I won't say that his offensive takedown game is necessarily the best, but if he's able to get to your back, he doesn't necessarily need to take you down to have success. And we've seen that in many fights, whether it was Cody Stamann or whether it was Corey Sandhagen. So the question here, though, is, Henry Cejudo only been controlled for 1% of his UFC career, very low center of gravity, Olympic wrestling background. I like to think that his leg kicks, he should be a little bit quicker in the exchanges. I think Aljamain Sterling slows down over time. And, I think the output is going to be muted a bit from Aljo, once he starts eating some of those leg kicks and some of the power returns from a guy like Cejudo, who's probably going to come diving in head first, too, at some point. The shorter guy trying to close some range, there could be some sketchiness. Aljo will switch stances. Cejudo even a little bit, too, but he's more committed to the orthodox. But ultimately here, I just think that Cejudo is not necessarily in danger of being finished by Aljamain Sterling. Whereas I could totally see Aljamain Sterling, as he slows down the stretch, being finished by Henry Cejudo. And just overall, the championship medal, the guy that I've seen, listen, the split decision with Demetrius Johnson, we could pour over all that tape all day. But I think at the end of the day, my pick here is going to be Henry Cejudo. And I am going to have a bet on it. And I took it at worse odds than the Guru. But it's just something I couldn't avoid doing.
I just think that when you mentioned opponent control time, and Henry Cejudo's 1% is amazing, but if we actually looking and contextualize those numbers, Aljamain Sterling 2,367 seconds. You're the math whiz, TB. That's a significant amount of time. No, how many minutes is that?
Opponents have controlled them. Oh
yeah,
God. Jeez,
what is that?
You're asking for?
It's like 40 minutes. Or it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. That's a lot of control time, giving up time to guys like Brian Caraway, Henan Barao, Brett Johns. 352 seconds to Peter Yan. 252 seconds to Peter Yan. That's not rest. Look at those numbers from Cejudo. 105 seconds. He's been controlled for less than 2 minutes of his fight time. Aljo has to win on the feet, and I don't know that he does. So I think he gets tired. I think his title run itself has been a bit of a, I hate to say fluke. The guy's a world-class athlete, unbelievable fighter, and has proven me wrong, cost me a ton of money. But TJ Dillashaw coming in injured, the Peter Yan fight, split decision. He wins 2 rounds holding Yan's back. You're not holding Henry Cejudo's back. Not at all. Maybe if you're lucky, you monkey grab and try to choke him. That's like your best case scenario if you're Aljo. But I don't see it happening. So I think Henry Cejudo comes back, and he comes back and wins. I've got Henry Cejudo at plus 100. So I laid that early, and I'm happy with it. Dan, you've been so patient, my friend. Please enlighten us, enlighten the guests. Just hit us with some of that world-class knowledge you got.
I mean, man, to be honest with you, it's like if this was 6 months removed or like a year removed from the Dominic Cruz fight, then this would be like a max bet on Henry Cejudo at these odds. It's just, y'all know, with the 3-year layoff, it's like, what level is Cejudo truly on in terms of greatness, right? Like, are we dealing with a John Jones and Anderson Silva, a GSP? Because a lot of people are calling him the GOAT. And for me personally right now, while I'd never, discredit Henry Cejudo's accomplishments, and I absolutely consider him one of the greatest combat sports athletes, I just personally can't put him ahead of Jones, GSP, and Anderson Silva yet. But if he wants to get in that conversation, a good way to do it would be coming off a 3-year layoff and taking out Aljamain Sterling, who, I mean, I agree with you. Those first 2 title fights were like I thought he lost both of them. I mean, he got knocked out in the first one. When you get knocked out and they call you the winner, you know, like it's crazy, bro. Like, so, and then the other one, you know, was what it was. But look, the TJ fight, I'm not gonna discredit him for it, man, because like tons of fighters fight injured, and like he went out there and he decimated TJ Dillashaw. He mopped the floor with TJ Dillashaw, you know. So, you know, that was a great performance. So, I mean, basically for me, like before I'd even want to get involved at the window, I'd kind of want to see what Henry Cejudo looks like on the scales on Friday. Reason being, like, if you recall, like prior to the Cruz fight, and like, man, like some of the strength conditioning programs like this guy was on, like at the Neuroforce One, like the kind of shape he was in, bro. Like if like I know for a fact he's in that shape, then, you know, then I'm interested. But like if he's looking kind of fat and this and that, then I'd probably have to go Aljamain. So I'm gonna pick Cejudo, but you know, if he looks like Triple C on Friday, like actually shredded, then, you know, then I'll be a little bit more confident.
Oh wait, Guru, maybe I can highlight you. Let's see.
Those are some abs, bro. Like Cejudo be looking, you know how, I mean, sometimes these photos look, you know, however, but
I mean, you gotta
hold that up, baby.
You gotta do a side by side, bro.
yeah, of course.
That's true.
TB
That's
usually
true.
does that.
Yeah. So we'll clip it up. We'll try to put a post out there for the people. We'll compare some weigh-in stuff on Friday, you know, as we settle up our final official Bet MMA plays. But I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds like like you said, man, Neuroforce One, such a cool program. Something I was actually studying in my one of my exercise science labs this semester, and we listened back to that Joe Rogan segment with Henry Cejudo and Neuroforce One. So the question is, man, do we have that same championship spirit? Because I think you're right. It's like if he had the same legacy as John Jones, we'd be getting like that minus 180 line here, like we got, you know, for Jones versus Khan. But you're right. I think Cejudo still has a couple questions to answer, but ultimately, I think he answers them. And I think a 4 or 5 decision play, if you wanted to get even more plus money, I don't think the decision, the finish will come early, but I just think the deeper this fight goes, I mean, Cejudo should just be pulling away, right? But
I do think.
Any
so.
final thoughts on that one, my fellas?
I think it's a really close fight, and I think when you see in the odds, Vegas does not really know either. It is a true coin flip, and I absolutely cannot wait to be there. The room will be fucking buzzing.
Yeah, I mean, like Henry Cejudo's always come through for me, but on the other side, I've consistently been wrong picking against Aljamain Sterling. So I feel you. I'll just, you know, sit back and let's
What do you
see.
guys think at like an over 3.5 at minus 190?
I mean, Henry said it ain't going past 3.
That's fucking crazy. If he really finishes him inside 3, then I mean,
he comes out hard.
What? I'm sorry, what?
He comes out hard. I mean, like he goes for it. He does. I mean, look at the way he goes with when he gets you hurt, the ground and pound is very aggressive. But I think we broke down the shit out of that fight before we go off for another 10 minutes. Let's get this train keeping on rolling, because I mean, who better to have here for a Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Butns breakdown? Remember the name versus Dorinho. We got Dan Levy in the building. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll tell you guys the odds. We got plus 105 Belal, minus 125 Butns, over 4.5, minus 150, under 4.5, plus 120. But I got to pass the torch here to the professional Belal Muhammad breakdown artist here. Dan Levy, you're going to kick us off for this one. What do you got here, my friend?
Yeah, man. I mean, Bilal's a money train, man. Like if you've been betting on Belal Muhammad and like all his fights have been great prices, I mean, this guy is a money train, dude. Like this guy is a money train, and the reason people call him boring is because they've been losing so much money betting against them that they're bitter, you know. Because when you talk about a boring fighter, you talk about like John Fitch or like Jake Shields, like those are boring fighters. Like, did you think anything about Brady versus Muhammad was boring, guys? Like,
no, sir.
Being as Belal Muhammad was my best bet of that entire card, No, there was nothing. I was fucking on my way to Mexico for that card, and Belal, I couldn't. I actually was a little disappointed because I had bet the distance, and I couldn't. He like KO'd him towards the end. I was like, what the fuck? Like that was crazy. But shout out Belal, man. He deserved. I really thought they'd put some fucking respect on his name. After KOing the favorite in Sean Brady, the undefeated Sean Brady, and they still somehow don't. I don't get it.
Oh shit.
I mean,
Continue on, Dan.
I think that, Belal has the edge in terms of the pace. Like, if this is an extended fight, and you look at the box score, I'm sure that Bilal is going to be up on strikes, that he's going to potentially even double up Gil on strikes. The only concern is that, like, Gil, he hits extremely hard. Like, even in that last fight against Masvidal, like, if you go back and watch it, like, some of those shots he was hitting Masvidal with, I was like, dude, like, how the fuck has Masvidal not been KO'd? Like, Masvidal's got an insane chin. I think he's only been knocked out like once in like 50 or to 100 fights or some shit. So it's crazy, man. But yeah, so, my only concern is like Gil coming out here, chopping him down with calf kicks and then maybe landing something big up top. But I think the longer the fight goes, and if it's really like, a dragged out dog fight and Belal doesn't get, badly hurt at some point, then, yeah, I got Belal. But also from the betting side of things, I mean, I've literally bet Belal like his last 11 fights. I'm 10-1. I got it written down here what the return was. So plus 15.99 units and 61% ROI. So
Hell yeah.
I mean, so when you hang like dog money on Belal against like anybody in this weight class, it's just kind of like an auto bet for me. So yeah, 3 units plus 125, Belal Muhammad.
I got in with you at that same like plus 125. I think it was plus 150, and I almost did it, and then I went back to look at it. It was plus 125, and I'm like, fuck that, and I hit it, and now we're sitting at plus 105, plus 110, plus 100 in some books, honestly.
Yep.
And yeah, you go, TB.
Yeah, I ended up getting the shitty line once again. TB out here doing homework and missing the early stuff, then thinking, oh no, before it flips to favorite, and next thing you know, I grab plus 100 and moves back to plus 110. So I'm like, well, fuck me. At least we're moving back to the plus 105 territory from my perspective. But ultimately, I think the left hook is the most dangerous weapon that Gilbert's going to have against Belal. We've seen it land. Very respected person that I converse with and watch his tape too. It was something that we definitely agreed upon in our outlook for where Belal could be in trouble. But I think what we have seen is him get into such unbelievable shape that the same guy got finished by Luque all those years ago. I mean, it's not the same Belal out there, and he's much more comfortable in the stand-up exchanges, and you see it even in the pace numbers, like you're saying, Dan. You got 13 strikes thrown per minute at distance compared to Gilbert's 9. I think the pressure working off the back foot. I don't think Gilbert's going to be able to land as many of his calf kicks as he normally does either. Even though that is another way where you could get at Belal. We saw in the Diego Lima fight, right? But overall, I just think this is the way for Belal to really get his shine, get his title shot. I think Leon presented the head kicks. Gilbert doesn't really present that same danger. So yeah, Belal.
Yeah, I mean, one thing for sure, father's plan. That's number one. And number two, I mean, if you're really gonna try and pick Gilbert, I think the fight that you'd have to look at would maybe be the Jeff Neal fight. Belal still outlands Jeff, but it's the damage, it's the power. That's what wins Jeff Neal the fight. And Gilbert needs that approach. He needs to damage him. But I don't think that Gilbert has the hands, the boxing that Jeff Neal has, even if he has similar power, and he doesn't have the pace that Jeff has. And Jeff has an undying commitment to the boxing, whereas Gil could be willing to shoot some takedowns, which is probably not going to be your best bet against Belal. Mm-hmm. So, why does it say? Oh, it's say opponent control. 4% opponent control rate for Belal. Like who even has held him down?
Leon was even struggling in the clinch with him.
Damian Maya did it.
But he didn't even land any takedowns.
No.
But it wasn't substantial.
When we went 1 for 21, I was at that fight. That was cool.
So yeah, I think once again we broke down the shit out of the fight, and we all got Belal a plus money. It's a celebration.
Yeah. Sweet.
All right. So we keep this party rolling here, and we get to our next fight. for some dissension.
I
We
similarly
got
like a 4-5 decision though for Belal.
Belal.
Yeah, because Gil has been somebody to crumble under pressure too. Get hurt and go home. So,
See, it's these crystallizing moments of the guru.
because I was just saying to TB before we hopped on that like I feel like Gilbert Butns and what's his face Sean Brady are like kind of similar in like at least if in nothing else at least body type, but I almost kind of think they're relative game plan. So
Yeah, gigantic level change from Brady to Burns. I get what you're saying. It's just it definitely would come later than earlier. It is kind of my argument, which to your point, that's what you're saying. But before we dive all the way back into that one, we're on to Jessica Batiesteca Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan. Do we have a good nickname for Yan Xiaonan?
9.
yeah, 9. It's in the
9?
notes.
Okay. Oopsies. Oh, there it was. Oopsies. So yeah, so 9 versus Batiesteca. The question is always, when you're looking at a Yan Xiaonan fight, is Andrade actually going to wrestle enough to make up for where her money line's at? And Guru's been kind of yelling at me. I don't know if you could realistically go ahead and play Jessica Andrade at this type of money right now. I guess she had a little bit longer of a camp and stuff, but we're talking about someone that throws these big looping strikes. I love her leg kicks, but when she's giving up range and she's giving up volume, she's not able to just land heavy leg kicks on. Like Rose Namajunas, very low volume against someone like Andrade. So you're able to land those kicks as someone's, trying to pick at you with jabs. You can do. Yan Xiaonan is a bit more explosive. I just ultimately at the end of the day, if Andrade does take that active wrestling approach and game plan, where she turns on the jets against Lemos after looking not so hot, where she turns on the jets, she takes down Chookagian and then lands the shots to the body as Chookagian's getting up to knock her out. So I get we're saying she hasn't landed more than a minute of control against blah, blah, blah. She hadn't necessarily had to. And then the people she tried against, like Shevchenko, did not work. She was at a big size strength disadvantage in that fight. So if she does go to the wrestling game plan against Yan Xiaonan, there could be success. But at the same token, we saw Yan Xiaonan have more defensive wrestling success in her last fight, especially since moving to Team Alpha Male. So I can't even agree, but I just can't fully pull the trigger knowing the danger that's coming back the other way. And seeing that Xiaonan has been finished by someone like Carla Esparza on the mat. I think Andrade would be live if she gets it down to the mat to find some sort of finish. So there's a little bit too much for me to really like plant my flag and place a bet on this one. So I'll be picking Andrade begrudgingly because I'm a bit of a fanboy for her past antics. But man, especially after the Blanchfield fight, it's getting real tough these days. So I mean, what do you got, Guru?
I think you've got a really tough matchup here for Jessica Andrade, who again has been flip-flopping through the different UFC divisions because she's just kind of in between divisions and she's trying to be, I guess, wherever gets her a title shot, whatever gets her the most money. I don't know why we were on Erin Blanchfield. I mean, on her over Erin Blanchfield. It's just really, really poor decision making. Weeks notice. It's just not a recipe for success. I think sometimes you get sucked in by Jessica Andrade's power, and I'm not sure that something like that is relevant in this fight where she's, Yan Xiaonan is a very good striker. And it was like, okay, can you trust Jessica Andrade to wrestle? And we look at these fights, and the last time she had, any control time is Tisha Torres. Yeah, the Chookagian fight. You're okay, but like, it's a totally different matchup. And and it was also a lucky shot. Like Jessica Andrade needed that. She had just lost 2 in a row. You know what I mean? Like just where somebody's at. So she just doesn't really wrestle enough. And that's problematic. Like she hasn't had more than 2 minutes of control time since basically Tisha Torres fight. And that's 2018. That's 6 years ago. So 5 years ago. I'm not good at math. But and for that, you just kind of have to think dog or pass. but yeah, I also kind of feel like it goes the distance too. So like maybe one of them just because like that was the thing. I was like, oh, maybe Jessica Andrade can pull away late, but like the stats don't dictate that. So I can't just bet on narrative. You have to bet on what the stats say. So I think Yan Xiaonan could be a interesting dog play, but maybe somebody like Dan could talk me into something else.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking about what the stats say, it's kind of ironic that like my two money trains are on the same card back to back, but just like Belal Muhammad, Yan Xiaonan, I mean, I literally better every single UFC fight, and what the stats say in terms of betting Yan Xiaonan every UFC fight. Now, granted, I risk different amounts on different fights, but I've bet her every single fight. She's 7-2 and up 13 units with a 37% ROI. So you hang a plus 160 in front of me on Yan Xiaonan against anybody in the weight class. And I mean, it's like a no-brainer for me. I mean, like after the Carla Esparza fight, she got out of her comfort zone. She moved to California. She's training with Uriah Faber. And ever since then, she went out there and she survived as a white belt against Mackenzie Dern on the mat. So her confidence has got to be increasing. But as far as breaking this one down, I mean, I just think the straight shots are going to be huge here for Yan Xiaonan. I mean, if you watch that Blanchfield fight, let's not even talk about the finish. Like, let's just talk about that Blanchfield was getting off on straight shots. She was popping back the head of Andrade with jabs, with crosses. Those are some of the best weapons that Yan Xiaonan brings to the table. Yan Xiaonan is going to be circling on the outside, kind of play it bull versus matador style. And yeah, I think she's going to come out here and probably get this decision win. One day, she's going to knock someone out with that side kick to the face. Oh, I mean, I'd love for it to be this fight, but yeah, I think it's most likely a decision win here.
I really dig it, and you, TV, touched on it as well. Just the improvements that Yan Xiaonan. I mean, the way she's stuffing takedowns versus Mackenzie Dern. I mean, there was a video that had came out after the fight of her drilling that exact thing over and over and over, and it came out she was drilling it 3 times a camp, like every day, every time, every camp for like 30-40 minutes after her practice. She was just drilling that and it fucking showed. The one thing that I do remember for sure is I remember us being extremely confident on Carla Esparza over her. I think she had just showed the grappling deficiency, and we love the wrestling. So like I didn't want when you take away from somebody like Carla Esparza getting finished on the mat, I mean, it was her kryptonite at that moment. She literally couldn't get up from ground, and all Carla wants to do is drown you, and she did. So I remember that being one of the more easy bets we cashed. But Yan is actually a physical specimen herself, and like we've all said now, has been working on that takedown defense and won the Mackenzie Dern fight because of it. So yeah.
Interesting enough, a majority decision because one judge scored the 5th round at 10-8 for Mackenzie Dern. Yeah, Dern went 2 of 11 on takedowns and landed 10 minutes of control. So
the problem is once she gets there, she really still can't get up, but she did a much better job of keeping herself from going there.
And I think Andrade is so big and strong that I can't trust her to commit to the game plan to bet on her. So please,
that's the problem.
Please take the plus money if you feel the slight tickle, and don't listen to TB saying that he's picking Andrade. That's all the advice that I can give you, and I'm ready to move on to the next fight.
Let's do it.
So we got Movsar.
This is the biggest disappointment of the whole week.
Yeah, versus Diego TB back in high school Lopes. If you
so creepy
want to see how sketchy I used to look with my haircut in high school, that's what Diego Lopes is still rocking on a day-to-day basis these days. He looks like he's doing emo covers on the weekends, and instead he gets called up to the UFC on a week's notice. However, now that I'm done making fun of how I used to look, look at this guy. The penguin costume and everything. Look at that hair. Terrible. Yeah, I mean, basically, virtually identical. Goldie. So, Movsar, there's definitely things on tape that show one, he slows down a tiny bit when he's standing from distance as the fight goes on, but his wrestling gas tank seems pretty deep. As long as he's not just playing patty cake at range with people, and he's actively changing levels to provide the threat and kind of slow down their output, he looks a lot better on the feet. But he does get stuck in these front choke positions an awful lot. And it was something against Bryce Mitchell that I was a little sketched out about. Diego Lopes out of Lobo Gym MMA in Alexa Grasso's corner for her championship fight. I mean, this is a guy that definitely is training with a good team, seems to have a very solid amount of experience. It's just he's also been finished 2 separate times, 2 knockout losses. He loses to Joanderson Brito on Contender Series. So he's definitely gotten a chance for these step-ups in the past and just hasn't really shown to have the full medal, but it's just being on speed dial for the UFC on short notice here. Movsar gets, to keep an opponent after agreeing to a short notice matchup on his own end. So ultimately, I think he's equipped to get it done, but I just envision it more like a decision, a safe wrestling decision, and Lopes is able to defend enough on the mat where I don't think he loses by submission or anything. And Evloev, I don't think he's got the most aggressive of ground and pounds. He lands less than 2 strikes per minute of control. It's not. He's more actively looking to hold down with the 39% control rate. Position over submission and dominant striking from the mat. But unless you feel anything different, because we don't even have a line on this.
No, so there's no line, and I think we could all play a game where we guess what the line is going to be. Because I would assume Movsar is going to be north of -600. I just don't really give Diego Lopes much of a chance. What I will tell you positive about him is that he's got some good smashing power kicks. He's got sharp straight right hands. He's got nice counter boxing, and his jiu-jitsu game is where he truly excels. But he can be a bit low output at times, being sometimes being patient, but sometimes being low output, and he is very grappling dependent. He needs sub or ground and pound, and you see that with his 8 KOs and 11 sub wins. Only 2 decision wins for Diego Lopes. So he needs to either control you, and he's not KOing you generally on the feet. It's generally with ground and pound. You're not controlling Movsar Evloev on the ground. Is it actually -600? Did I nail it?
It just legitimately just got posted from before we went on the show.
I didn't look. It's literally -600, so I lined
literally
it on the dot.
Guru is spot on.
That's kind of crazy. So, you just can't give Diego Lopes much of a chance. Movsar is somebody that will stay safe. He's got unbelievable fundamentals, and he's just kind of getting better and better. Even when he puts himself in bad positions, he's got really, really good submission defense. His grappling is really, really fucking good. It's just not a really good path for Diego Lopes at all. You come in here, you take your lumps, you get your UFC contract, you get the fuck out of there. Good for you, Diego. Bad for us, the fans. We really did lose probably the 3rd best fight on the card. Movsar gets it done. Round 3 decision, same idea. But, listen, I would personally, as a fan, I would like to see him make a statement. Go out there and go get a round 1 or 2 fucking finish on this guy. Show that you are actually supposed to fight, high-level competition. Don't go out there and decisionate this guy. Although, I guess it could let me, take a piss or go get another beer. Because we'll be at The Rock, baby. Dan, what do you got?
I mean, I think y'all covered this one to the T, man. I mean, I don't know what else I could add. The kid comes from Novo, so it's probably tough enough to make it the distance. Evloev doesn't finish fights, so he's probably going to decision this kid. And, yeah, that's it.
Easy. Short and sweet.
Love it.
Who did you like? How about quickly, really quick? Who did you like, Evloev or Bryce Mitchell?
Evloev.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yep. Amen.
By decision too.
There you go.
Amen.
But I don't think it was going to be a domination though. I'll tell you why. If you watch Evloev's fights, the Grundy fight, he was caught in a deep ass Darce choke, and credit to him for escaping. The dude's got heart and all that.
Yep.
Great defense, but still, Bryce could have attacked submissions. Nick Lentz had him in a deep Darce choke, and it was a not deep Darce choke, in a deep guillotine choke, and it was a split decision. And then Hakeem Dawodu rocked him in round 3. So,
listen, to that point, if you get some sort of crazy line, if you get Diego Lopes by submission plus 1,000 or something, you have to take a little grandma's couch cushion play on it, because he does put himself in stupid enough spots.
Yeah, I mean, that's his only chance, but
it's his only chance.
I just don't think it's happening.
No, of course not. But grandma's couch cushion. It's an
Yeah.
nobody notices the quarter missing between the couch cushions. You know what I'm saying? So you put that on that, all of a sudden, grandma doesn't notice. We're not pawning her jewelry. We're just at least this time, just digging in the couch cushions.
Just taking a little bit of that lumbar support over time. That's all.
Exactly.
All right. I see what you're doing, Guru.
How I operate.
Yeah, this guy over here. All right, so we got our next fight. We got Kron Gracie versus Charles Jourdain. So good question.
Fromage.
Kron Gracie here, man, plus 155. This guy's been God knows where the fuck. Definitely not posting on Instagram. And then we got Charles Jourdain, who is definitely still in Canada. So I don't think either guy necessarily has like the optimal training situation leading up to this camp. As far as like being able to get the most out of their abilities. I don't think we see Kron at any of the, I mean, he used to be at like Fight Ready. He used to be at all these, he's not really at any of those spots anymore, at least from what I gather. But yeah, anyways, before we get too lost on the train here, Charles Jourdain, I mean, this guy is literally the opposite of control. Like he does not show any real like fight IQ at any point. He's all go, all gas, always trying to pull off something crazy. And he's always giving up his back, falling on the floor, doing some stupid shit. I expect some stupid shit from him to happen at some point. And I can't even say like confidently like, oh, Kron will get it done earlier. I just think at some point over 15 minutes, I don't think Jourdain's going to sub Kron. I don't think Jourdain's going to knock out Kron. Kron is actually shown to be like one of the tougher guys that I've seen that doesn't really have like a big striking background. But dude, the Cub Swanson fight, I mean, he lands enough of his own big, heavy shots to slow down Cub's path. I mean, if Cub is just openly swinging away on Kron all fight without resistance, Kron would have been knocked out. But Kron puts up a legit fight, dude. He throws 13 strikes per minute of distance. That's legit. He lands 74 out of 182. He doesn't stop trying. And it's not like, Cub 110 out of 252. That's not as much of a push. That's not even 50% striking accuracy. I get there were some bad optics. I get that Kron
doesn't have
walking
50%
forward like
striking accuracy in his career.
I'm just making the point. I don't think that Kron Gracie is as big of a punching bag as I'm being led to believe. And I think that he's going to put the pressure on Jourdain. And Jourdain has shown to mentally break against the likes of Julian Erosa. I think we see a submission at some point or another from Kron Gracie. So I took the plus 155. Wasn't sure what would happen with the line. I'll be looking to play submission in the plus 200 range. And I'll call it a day. And I'm not throwing more than like a unit overall. Like I'm not going crazy here, but there's no way I would trust Charles Jourdain as a minus 180 ever.
That's like my biggest hang up on this fight. You just got Charles Jourdain in a pick'em versus groovy Orlando Venata. Why are you now favored so heavily against it? Like, what do you line Kron Gracie versus Orlando Venata? Like, Kron is going to be favored, in my opinion. What can Orlando do? Like
Orlando?
Groove.
Orlando. It's just
Orlando. Or I think his I don't know why I said Orlando. Groovy Lando. Yeah, Groovy Lando. I don't know why I said Orlando. Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Little comment.
I was like, what?
So yeah, I mean, when you can get Kron Gracie by submission at like plus 240 or something, like that's a smart type of play. I honestly think he could win a decision. It's just going to be very interesting, and you've seen him fight. Oh, Charles Jourdain is an awkward style fighter. He fought Alex Caceres and Cub Swanson. Homie's used to eccentric strikers that want to come at you. So he's got another one here, and from what he sounds like at Media Day, the little bit he said, I think he wants to keep fighting, right? Like he's gonna stay around. He's trying to be more active. So
I mean, I'm all right that he took time off after that fucking war. Like, I'm cool with that. Like, take a little time off.
4 years is more than a little time off. What are you fucking talking about?
Did he have any canceled fights in the interim? That's a legitimate question.
He's been a fucking ghost. He might as well be training with Bigfoot. Nobody knows where he went, and now he's back.
Levy, do you know where Kron Gracie went?
It's like where's
does your thing say he's 5'4"?
Yeah, what the fuck?
He's definitely not 5'4".
Why do you always do this?
All right. Well, it was in the notes like that. So let me
He's
go.
5'9". He's 5'9".
Jeez. That's
But,
sketchy of
What is he,
me.
Duran win?
I would like to apologize.
Apologize.
I mean,
fix
my
my
issue with Gracie is that he's not really like that urgent for the takedowns. Only attempted 2 against Caceres and only attempted 2 against Swanson. Now that's not to say that he comes out here, attempts 2 again, and one of them doesn't seal the deal, right? Because all he needs is like one back take or one good spot. But man, I mean, he seems like a fighter. He seems like a guy that with a lot of balls, so he's probably going to want to stand and bang with Charles. And I favor Charles in that kind of fight. So as long as Charles can avoid going to the mat with this guy, I think Charles probably wins his decision here. And I don't think he quit against LaRosa. Like, how did he quit against LaRosa?
Oh, well, I don't think he quit. I just think he slowed down and got worn down by the pace is what I was saying.
Oh, okay,
So, yeah. No, so I think I was saying like
He's
if
a
he slowed
quitter.
down. No, I was saying like if he slowed down
You
towards
said
the
it.
end with the pace of Arosa, I think that like it's not like Arosa's a dangerous guy as far like he's dangerous as far as if you go to like panic shoot on him, he's gonna get the darts. But like I think Kron, at least in the times where I've seen Charles throw a crazy flying knee, throw a kick and fall on his ass.
That's
Like,
what I was just going to say. He
I
doesn't
think
even need a
Kron is
takedown.
more. That's I'm not even saying Kron's gonna push a crazy pace, and I'm taking a little shot on the dog money. But then
He
again,
does
I'm
push a
doing that on
crazy
a guy
pace,
like
though.
Kron instead of a person like Xiaonan. So I guess
He
argues.
does push a high pace. You watch him in the Cub Swanson fight. Cub, of course, is piecing him up, hitting him with body kicks, like fucking going crazy on him. Prime Cub Swanson and that, like he's looking great for you. But like Kron is the one continuing the zombie march forward. That like you continue to apply that pressure to Charles Jourdain, he'll just throw a spinning hook kick and fucking fall on the floor. He'll throw a jump knee and get clinched into the cage and go to the floor. Like he doesn't need a takedown. He will trip. Like he just does not smart things.
No,
But
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. I mean,
and at
like, even against like Lando, he threw a kick and then he fell.
Right. So he's like at minus 180. I think I've picked literally every dog except for Evloev. But like, I mean, they're barking this week. I can't ignore it. Minus 180 in this economy. He needs a quick, flashy finish to
Listen, Guru.
to
Just because you got Henry Cejudo at plus 100 doesn't mean he's not the favorite right now.
Ooh, okay. I like
All
that.
right, dog. So, yeah. Anywho, I mean, we got any last feelers on this fight? I think we're ready to keep on adding on to the next one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab a water real quick, but I'll be right back.
Beautiful.
Y'all go ahead.
All right, we appreciate that, Mr. Levy.
Listen,
all right.
Dan Levy has been he had half the battle earlier today. He's been podcasting up. So
he was on one of our buddy Couch Warrior pod on Monday with Lucrative MMA. You guys got to make sure, like, the best thing about this community is that we all support each other. And, like, honestly, we're just trying to find the best bets of the week and how we can make money against the bookie. Like, honestly, we're all a team, man. There's no competition out here. There's plenty to go around. There's plenty of drive time on your commute to listen to everyone. Like, dude, we're all chilling at the end of the night and want to listen to a fun show. So make sure you're following all the boys out there. That's all we want to do.
All the
without
boys
the listeners, it honestly wouldn't be worth it. So I just want to give a shout out to you guys too. So
headlining fucking prelim.
Oh, we got Drew, the fucking incredible chin, Dober.
Handsome Squidward.
All right, Drew, handsome Squidward, Dober. I like that. Versus Matt, the steamroller, the pork roll, egg and cheese devouring Frevola.
We love Matt Frevola. Just an unbelievable guy, personality, with just an absolutely incredible camp, with just a bunch of nice individuals. Like, I really can't say enough. Dennis Bazookia fighting CFFC. By the way, Evloev legitimately turned him down for the fight. Like, Bazookia would have been fighting, but now on the card, and he's not, and he should be. He absolutely should be in the UFC. But I look forward to seeing him at CFFC in June. I'll be there.
So, anyways, we got Drew Dober at minus 205 and the steamroller at plus 175. Over 1.5 at minus 135. It's getting spicy in here. The under 1.5 at plus 105. I got a feeling These boys it's going to be like butthole clench city, but the over 1.5 is going to happen. I think the fight starts around 3 is going to happen. I think the fight goes the distance is going to happen. I think Frevola pushes enough of a pace to where he can earn his own respect on the feet as long as he's not stupid in exchanges. I mean, he only absorbs 3 strikes per minute of distance. He's got 62%. I think he's supremely underestimated Terrence McKinney. I think he took a guy on a couple days' notice and just didn't respect his power at all. And you also see the same thing coming in early. What was it, his debut against Marco Polo Reyes? The lights are bright. The lights are bright. Shit happens. I don't think Frevola necessarily has a gigantic chin issue per se, though. I think Amina Zaitar would have taken care of that if that was the case. But I don't recommend that Matt Frevola go out here and trade from distance for extended periods. With Drew Dober, lucky enough, we got a guy that shoots 6 takedowns per 15 minutes. Not that he's supremely successful, but when you take a 15-minute fight against Arman Sarukian, where he goes, what is it? I mean, the dude has a real tough time because Sarukian takes him down 10 out of 12 times, and he goes 0 out of 2. But he gets control for so much. But in these other fights, I mean, Jalen Turner, he shoots 13 takedowns. He knows what to do. Luis Pena, he shoots 7 takedowns. Lando Venata, he shoots 6. He has some trouble early on the feet with Lando, but I think he adjusted since his debut. He ends up settling in. They go to a draw. I think Frevola's got enough here, even if he doesn't win this fight. And I do have a little bet on Frevola because he's the dog. But I like the fight goes the distance, and it's at really solid plus money. But just the over 1.5 and minus 135, well, clench your butthole for 3 rounds, but you do it for half the fight and still get minus 135. So I think there's some stackage happening.
That number is currently playing at plus 180. Dan Tom. Thanks so much, buddy. Love to hear from you, man. Gotta have you on, bro. I know you're the busiest, but whenever you're free, buddy, we'd love to have you back.
Oh, yeah.
It's been too long.
And make sure you check out Thursday, the Protect
Your Neck.
Hell yeah.
Protect it, yo. So go listen to Dan Tom. He's the GOAT for real. Just an unbelievable individual. Listen, God, man. Matt, I love Matt. I there's just not enough positive things you could say about him. I just feel that he's in the house. Dan Levy's there. We love it. We always have to plug you, Dan.
Yeah, we always have. I mean, like, literally. Come on.
What are you talking about?
Can't help
it. You're a silly goose. All right. Welcome back, my friend.
Welcome back. And yes, Dan Levy is in the house.
Oh, shit. Dan Tom's in the house. What's up, Dan?
Hell yeah. Love that guy.
Awesome. Yeah, I just think that Frevola is going to struggle with the overall pace of Drew Dober. And you look at that, I mean, he almost doubles him with his pace. Listen to half the battle earlier. Somebody had mentioned that Drew Dober is tied for lightweight knockouts in UFC history. Right. For a guy that like sneakily doesn't even like have that, like was not known for knockouts through most of his career, somehow has now got up there with Dustin Poirier, which is just fucking insane thing to think about. I just don't think Frevola needs to continue to put in his dues, man. And this is just one of them. I'd love to see him pull away as the dog here and get it done. But you look at who Drew Dober's fought. It's just the who's who, man. Beneil Dariush, Nasrat Haqparast, Alexander Hernandez, Brad Riddell, he beats Terrence McKinney, even Rafael Alves and Bobby Green. You know, these are fights that Matt Frevola would do great and would be wonderful in a fight with Bobby Green. He should fight somebody like Alexander Hernandez. These are great fights for Matt Frevola, and I want to see him against that competition. And he gets a great opportunity to fight a really good fighter in Drew Dober. I just think that handsome Squidward, he's just got that block chin, and that's troubling. And even though Frevola has had some chin issues in the past, I don't know that he's necessarily as chinny as everybody makes him out to be. So, like, I don't necessarily, like, he knocks out Bobby Green. He catches Bobby Green, which is crazy. It hits Alves with a body shot. We know Alves, his gas tank was always his issue. So, like, I don't want to take anything away, but, like, I mean, maybe I am. And then finishing Terrence McKinney in round 1, like, Terrence McKinney is an elite fighter for 2.5 minutes, and then he quits. He's out. So that's 3 knockouts in a row that I don't want to put an asterisk on. It's just, I don't know. Frivola's gonna be tough as fucking nails. You're gonna have to fucking kill him in New York.
What happened when Frevola fought McKinney?
Yeah.
Oh, listen. I was there. That was my first ever UFC fight. So this is now my third UFC fight, fourth UFC fight. I'll be seeing Frevola for the third time live, which is awesome. And yeah, I just think that I like over 1.5. That I think maybe is my best play for this fight, so I don't have to pick against Frevola. I'm picking him to survive 7.5 minutes, and I'm gonna fade the narrative a little bit because they have Drew Dober by KO minus 110. Like I think it's just disrespectful. And I think narrative has caught on a little bit. So I like even TB. Maybe we could go crazy enough. Fight goes the distance. He's been in some fucking wars, man. Frivola's tough as nails, and so is Drew. You look at him; he's pieced up in Bobby Green fight. He's nearly another ref calls that McKinney fight a win for Dober. Dober's like dropped twice. We've seen worse stoppages.
Yeah, so. I mean, listen, Dober's been controlled 23%. So it's kind of like the Andrade theory for me. It's like if I trusted Matt Frevola to wrestle, but I'm also getting plus 175 compared to minus 195. So that's why I'm willing to take a 1-unit shot on Frevola. But
that's fair.
Once again, I have much better, like Cejudo's going to make up at least 4 or 5 of my underdog plays combined. You know what I mean? So I just don't want to lead you too far down the wrong direction, but I think it's worth the shot. But I think even better, like we said, the over 1.5 stacking. Fight starts around 3 is plus 130, and fight goes the distance is like plus 180, plus 190.
I like that. I think that fight starts on 3 is sneaky.
What do you got here? Now that you're hydrated, my friend, what are you thinking?
I mean, I agree with you all that the Frevola chin stuff might be a little overblown. I mean, granted, he has been dropped 5 times in UFC competition, but he's definitely a tough guy. He's definitely going to go for it. And then on a side note, you just love the personalities. Seems like a great guy. He's on MMA Twitter, so it's fun to root for him. But even if his chin stuff is overblown, I still think Dober has a way better chin than Matt Frevola. And even though Frivola's got some sneaky power, Dober's got the most knockouts in lightweight history, tied with Dustin Poirier. So even though Frivola's been making improvements, he's a stud. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. It's just more often than not, I think Drew Dober wins this fight. So for that reason, I'm picking Drew Dober.
Can't hate it, my friend. I might end up circling Drew for my official pick. Have my little friendly flyer out there for my buddy as a bet at the plus money. But yeah, I could definitely see Drew just winning a volume battle. Drew stuffing takedowns,
I genuinely liked Matt Frevola over Ottoman Azaitar. Like I really actually liked that bet in that fight for him. When this got announced, I thought it was a tough fight, kind of like Billy Q and Edson. I just think it was a tough matchup. So we'll see. Come on, Matty, get it done. Steamroller.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes then. All right. Yeah, thanks, guys. Please like and subscribe as we move along here. We got Kennedy and Nzechukwu versus Devin Brown Bear Clark. His dad's going to be screaming, even if he's not part of the corner. Devin Clark's dad, he just hears what the corner says now, and he tries to now he's trying to be a little bit more helpful in the way that he yells at Devin. But hey, Devin against a big, slow guy like Da Woon Jung now. He looked pretty fast out there. He looked like he did a pretty good job. Then I go back and rewatch the fight. I'm like, fuck, man, how many times does Da Woon Jung end up taking Devin Clark's back in the clinch? How many times does Da Woon Jung reverse a takedown, or Da Woon Jung goes for a stupid lateral drop, and that's how Devin Clark ends up on top at the end of round 1? I don't really trust Devin Clark to actually land takedowns against Kennedy. I don't trust Devin Clark to be faster and better with his range than Kennedy, who actually is finally started making a little improvement. So I don't really 100% trust Kennedy to bet minus 190, but I sure as fuck am not circling or betting Clark. So whether you have a need to play every fight and you want to have a little degenerate parlay, or maybe you want a little Kennedy inside the distance. Maybe he lands a knee on Devin Clark shooting for a stupid takedown from a mile away. Maybe he jabs the fuck out of Devin and Devin wants out of there. I can't say for sure, but I'm definitely not picking Devin Clark. I got Kennedy here, the Savage, right? Let's go.
The African Savage.
The African Savage. Sorry. Yeah, there it is. Perfect. The African Savage. So what do you got? What do you got, Guru?
Honestly, in respect to both of these guys, this is I'll probably be grabbing a beer or taking a piss. Like, I mean, this is probably my least favorite fight on the card, from a betting perspective and from a like entertainment value perspective. Just whack. Just yeah, I don't know. Kennedy Nzechukwu has shown that he's not that great at getting up. I mean, he's getting walloped by Ion Cutelaba until Ion decides to go, full crazy pants and just awful. One of the worst fighters I've ever seen. That fight was over so quick out of nowhere. Yeah, fuck this fight. Probably it's going the distance, probably, because it's that shitty. So what do you got? Maybe Dan, talk some sense to me. What?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with you. I mean, look, maybe I halfway agree with you because I agree Devin Clark is like atrocious to watch. I mean, like, and people saying that like his last fight against Dawoon Jung, like it was like some breakthrough performance. Dude, he landed under 40 strikes and Dawoon Jung landed under 20 strikes. Like that fight was not a good fight. And I mean, Clark, he kind of he is physical. He's good at pushing you up against the fence and kind of killing the clock and mixing in a takedown or two. He's experienced by now, but he kind of still blitzes with his chin straight up in the air, kind of like Derek Brunson style. Just not as good. So yeah, he's not fun to watch. But Kennedy's out here finishing fights, man. I don't know why you're hating on Kennedy, man. The guy can overcome adversity. The guy's finishing fights. Like he's got some big physical attributes. 6'5" with the 83-inch reach. So honestly, man, like I'm not gonna be like missing this fight because I think that Kennedy Nzechukwu is gonna finish Devin Clark.
But what if we play MMA math though, right? Because Devin Clark beat Dawoon Jung and
Nah.
Wait.
Nzechukwu lost him.
Keep going.
And Kennedy Nzechukwu lost to him.
Okay, let's do that, and then let's also do Ion Cutelaba beat the living shit out of Devin Clark.
Right.
And Kennedy finished.
That's a good one. I like that
in
one.
the main event of the year, the one that the people were clamoring for, the 3-round fucking.
The 3-round.
Yeah,
Derek Lewis shit him. Derek Lewis had diarrhea.
Nah,
so you get this diarrhea.
No, okay, but listen, I think the thing is like Kennedy's shown he's really tough to take down. He's really good at getting up. Even if you get a good position, like Ion Cutelaba got immediately into mount off of like one of his Greco trips. And I think that's the way you take down Kennedy is by using trips and using his height against it. Devin Clark isn't really smart enough in that regard. Like he's shooting like dumb singles, doubles, trying to use his overall brute strength. That's not going to work against Kennedy. And not many people really can like hold a guy that big down for extended periods. Nego Mariano clinched him. Marquez took his back, but did he survive all those things? Yes, he did. I thought he still beat Nego Mariano. He used his wrestling against Robertson. I think you could see Kennedy just use top control for a decision. Not outside the realm of possibility with Devin Clark being controlled for like 28% of his opponent's control time.
Kennedy and Nzechukwu by decision plus 275 if he decides to just lay on top of him.
Yeah, I mean, Clark's kind of tough as long as he's not getting flying kneed. But, I mean, Kennedy could land one of those step-in knees and just fucking – and he's showing much better aggression and range with his striking, too, these days. He looks a lot more comfortable. Like, he's been working for a long time. I mean, his fights go back. At this point, he debuted back in 2019. It's no longer like, he's in his first couple of years. Like, he's been a Fortis for, like, over 5 years now. So, these are when the things you really start to, like, take shape here.
The general Sayif Saud.
And he's only 30 years old still. This guy's coming into his prime, and he's a 5-inch height, 8-inch reach, 6-inch leg reach. He's gonna
I'm sold.
demolish Clark.
So he's actually probably one of the more solid parlayable favorites on the card.
Just like be careful what you're doing at minus 190. It's just degenerate parlay only, not a best bet territory.
Of course, yeah. But what is like you said though? How does Devin Clark win the fight? So why wouldn't you parlay him at a decent clip?
Yeah,
you just made a whole case about him.
yeah, I mean,
Dan Levy says he's gonna finish him. I should bet the house. Apparently,
I mean,
I didn't say anything like that.
yeah, that's what you
I mean,
said. That's what you
you're
said.
like you're connecting a lot of dots that
That's
aren't
what
quite
I
there.
pull up the Charlie Day meme of just like
Oh my
him
God.
pointing at all the shit. Like that's
Yeah.
me.
My only bets are Belal and Xiaonan. These are all pure picks from here.
Yeah. So here we go. We got Khaos Williams versus Rolando. What am I doing in the UFC, Bedoya? I guess being, shoot the box.
Dude, he's not a short notice guy. This has been a booked matchup.
Yeah, I know, but I don't quite get it, man. I don't really see. I guess you can make a similar argument. You can make a similar argument about another fighter coming up, but I think this is at a much more technical weight class. You can't just throw blind leg kicks at a guy like Khaos Williams. You can't just throw dumb spinning shit. You can't just shoot wild takedowns and use pace and aggression. And this is a crazy debut opponent. I mean, Khaos, he lost to Michel Pereira and Randy Brown. Those are really good opponents. You can't hate a guy that's 4-2 in the UFC, and his 2 losses will come to guys like that. And even Randy Brown, I mean, he throws more volume. It's just he has a tough time actually landing it. But the dude lands almost a full round of control too. And I think that Khaos could actually, he has a bit of like a underrated takedown defense at this point. I think we saw some stuff on the regional scene that was a little bit sketchy, but I think he's made some improvements in his overall game plan. Like Michel Pereira lands 2 out of 2, only gets 81 seconds out of control. On the regional scene, we were seeing him get controlled for extended periods when stuff like that happened. And, Randy Brown gets 249. He doesn't give up more than 11 seconds of control to a guy that shot 4 takedowns. I think Khaos is going to be okay if Bedoya tries to go for a takedown. He talked in an interview with Jung Hyun Ko about, hey, if he wants to stand and bang, I'll knock him out. If he wants to shoot a dumb takedown, I'll choke him out. He's like, I've been working a lot on that game. He's been with Joaquin Buckley, a few of those other guys that Mercy Lago. I mean, has he not been working with Jamal? I think I saw like Jamal Hill too, right?
He's really close with Jamal.
I'm just saying, I think that part of his game is underrated. So if you wanted to get like really cheeky and look at like a Khaos submission prop,
plus 1,200.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, as something crazy, might just toss it because Rolando is going to look to shoot the takedown if he doesn't like what's going on the feet. But Khaos could just knock his lights out before it even gets there. Look at that good boy on the couch back there, getting settled in. Love it.
Love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I guess I can't like the finish. There was just part of me that I guess was a little concerned just with like if he's such a big favorite, then why isn't he minus 600? Like if it's such a smash. So that's maybe a little concerning if that makes any sense. Bedoya has good jiu-jitsu. Like that's kind of his claim to fame, right? He's got 3 subs, 4 KOs from Shoot a Box, right? Training with good guys at least. Diego Lima, Charles Oliveira. He's getting the reps, but maybe that's why he's getting called here. That he's just like you said, a guy that can. I don't know. It's not short notice, so maybe they just owed Shoot a Box a favor. Like I don't. You
took Islam in Abu Dhabi. Oh, and also Charles was supposed to be fighting on this card originally too.
That's fair. That's exactly why. That's why he's on the card. That's why he's on the card. So, that is the truth. The guy is a 7-1 in Fusion FC. Was the Fusion FC welterweight champ. He's facing the best guys that he can. He's done what he can with where he's at. And at a certain point, you kind of force promoters' hands, and like, there's no one really left in my region to fight. So, I guess they kind of give him the shot here. And you're right. That's exactly why he's on the card. Very astute, TB. That was awesome. I didn't even think of that. It's exactly why he's on the card. So, Mr. Levy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Khaos is minus 305 for a reason, But I like the kid, Bedoya, except I'd like him better at 155 pounds, which, the fact that he made it to the UFC here at 70s, it's like, damn, props to you, man. I mean, he's exciting. The kid comes to fight. He's kill or be killed. Unfortunately, in this spot, it's probably more towards be killed. But, Khaos, obviously, like y'all said, better level of competition, all that. Minus 300 for a reason. So, yeah, Khaos Williams. But
Wait.
I look forward to seeing this kid at 55s.
Wait, conspiracy theory, real quick before we move on. Over 1.5 is -120. Rolando Bedoya hasn't actually ever been finished, so I'm not crazy enough to say goes the distance per se here. But could he be durable enough to last that 1.5 here?
He really might, because Khaos may be he's a fairly patient individual as well. Like, he may not push the envelope. And respect to Khaos, where the fuck has he been? Like, I just want to throw a little bit of conspiracy out there in terms of it's been a year. Don't know what he's been doing other than posting on Instagram saying that he sells houses. You need a house, go call Khaos Williams, apparently. Like, it's fine to have some extra side hustles, outside hustles, but like, homie's like reconstructing houses. Like, you know, if you're flipping houses, like, that's a lot of work. So I just don't know where, like, is this just a payday to him and he's hoping just to knock this dude out, get another 50K, and I'll see you in another year? Like, I don't know where his mindset's at. So I know Bedoya is going to come in there and
I think
knock his block off.
He took a tough L in a big fight, and took some time off to work on parts of his game and come back better. And in the meantime, since he's not going to be making money in that time off, selling houses makes money. So
it's all hope. That to me is just hopeful assumption. I think it is, but we don't know, right?
I mean, dude, we're talking about like a 1-year layoff for a guy that took a major step up in Randy Brown and didn't even get finished or anything. Who's finishing Khaos? So Bedoya is going to come out and finish Khaos?
I guess
no. So the fight goes
really
the distance.
No
So in that argument, the fight just take the over 1.5 if you don't trust Khaos.
That's interesting.
There you go.
I think that's
spend too much more time on this fucking fight.
That's fair.
Yeah, let's get this show. Let's get the show moving here. We got Marina Rodriguez -140.
The very
handsome. Shout out DFS and Wheezy. Very handsome Virna Jandiroba +120. That line was like +200 at one point, huh? We're really it's getting steamy.
That line got crazy.
So breakdown time. Marina's gonna have 3-inch height, 1-inch reach, 1.5-inch leg reach. Does that give more space for Virna to just grab something up? I mean, Virna is go a little bit crazy on the front foot these days. She does throw like, a solid pace. But nothing's really super technical. She's definitely getting hit. Even Mackenzie Dern, having success on the feet against Virna Jandiroba. So the question is, how many times does Marina Rodriguez get taken down here? How many times? We see Lemos lands one, ends up getting the knockout on the feet. I mean, I don't think Virna's knocking out Marina on the feet. But yeah, so the Xiaonan fight, Xiaonan lands 2 takedowns. Mackenzie only lands 1 out of 8. And I tend to think that when we saw like Mackenzie and Virna fight, Virna lands 1 out of 1 and Mackenzie goes 0-5 on her. So I think we probably are looking more at like a Michelle Watterson or Mackenzie Dern level of efficiency on takedowns rather than say, like Carla Esparza amount of success or a Calvillo amount of success. I think if Jandiroba gets the takedown, she could get into good positions with her grappling. I just don't know how often she can get there. And going 3 out of 8 on Angie Hill, who's a lot smaller than Marina, is not necessarily the thing I need to convince me that she's ready for this next step up in competition. I think Marina rights the ship here. I think -140 is a much better price than where it started at. And I'm much more willing to come in on something like that at this point. So I'll pick Marina here. I think I wouldn't even say she finishes her. She just does it by decision.
I think you highlighted a lot of the really interesting points. And one of the most important being the line. If you could have gotten Virna Jandiroba +175, +200, like, yeah, I understand the dog shot there. But now you're at +120, and I'm not so sure anymore. You can get Marina Rodriguez -140, -130. Like, that is not that's much more, like you said, a line where now you can maybe buy back some interest in. You've seen Marina Rodriguez. Yeah, she's basically a turtle when she gets taken down, but she's somebody that's like good enough, long enough to kind of keep it at range and keep it on the feet. you've seen her fight. This I feel like similar style people in terms of Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Hebos, in terms of like kind of the Brazilian, not as good at the striking, but wants to take you down and sub you. And she wins both those fights. So I think that she's going to win again here. And at minus 130, minus 140, I'm back to being interested. So, yeah, I just don't know that Virna is going to be able to get it. But listen, we just watched Stephanie Yeager get knee barred. So I wouldn't exactly be the craziest, most surprised if Marina Rodriguez just laid an egg and got knee barred. But I mean,
Laid an egg. I like that.
I like it. And laid an egger and got knee barred.
What do you got, Dan?
I mean, basically, this is a tough one because with Marina, she's been taken down in 9 of her 11 UFC fights. And while she's not getting submitted, and credit to her, she survived on the mat with Mackenzie Dern, she's still like, the reason why, it says that she's got 2 draws is because she won rounds 1 and 2 against both Randa Marcos and Cynthia Calvillo, and then she got 10-8 in round 3 because she couldn't get up from bottom. Now, credit to her, she's tough, didn't get finished, but she's giving up fights in moments like that. Like against Carla, she was the one landing the damage, but she just got held down for way too long. So Virna is right up there with any of the best like women's black belts in MMA. So is it a situation where Virna only needs 2 takedowns, one in round 1, hold her down, 1 in round 2, hold her down, then just survive round 3? Or is, Virna gonna like expend a lot of energy kind of trying to get that sub in the first round, kind of gas out, and then Marina can stuff the takedowns like, towards the midpoint of the second round onto the third, and then start to kind of light her up, win the second and third, go out there, win that decision. So yeah, it's a tough one to call, but I'm slightly leaning towards Marina getting the decision win. You're
Love
muted,
it.
my man.
Yep.
Love it. He always does that. And I was thinking about all the wise wisdom you're imparting. I agree completely. I love it. And I think we're getting a little value.
All right. So we move on to our next fight, the sloppy heavyweight bout of the evening. We got to get 1 per card. So, however, we got like the best nickname on the card too. I don't even need to make one here. We got Braxton, the beautiful monster Smith. And now we got to come up with a nickname. It's Parker Porky Porter. Perfect. So I think Parker, if you could trust him to just immediately shoot takedown and not do anything else the whole fight, I think he could be worth the minus 170, maybe even more. I think you'd be looking for a little submission prop. Braxton Smith, dude. I just think the athletic advantages that Braxton Smith is going to present over Parker Porter, even with the reach disadvantage, I don't think that Parker is going to be able to easily enact a wrestling game plan in this fight. And I don't think he's necessarily 100% smart enough to do it right away. I'll take the dog shot on the heavyweight that sleeps people, even though I still don't even – is he even training with like a real team by this point or anything?
There's that whole – listen, Braxton didn't even have a gym. He's like literally just doing his own thing. He's the fucking man. He's literally 2023's Kimbo Slice. This was the first fight I looked into because I saw Parker Porter as a favorite. And I'm like, why the fuck on God's green earth is Parker Porter a favorite to anybody? And then you watch this guy fight and you're like, no, Parker Porter got brained 3 months ago by Tafa. He's going to get brained again. It's like a guarantee. This is one of my favorite bets. Braxton, I got him plus 155. Braxton round 1, Braxton round 1 knockout, Braxton by all of it. I mean, because listen, Parker Porter's just gonna he has to take him down. He has to take him down and he has to hold him there. And I don't know that he has the cardio to do it. And he certainly doesn't have a fucking good chin. So give me my boy Braxton.
Yeah,
Violent.
man. I mean, everything you bet is the way that Braxton would win if he's going to win this fight, right? I mean, if Braxton's going to come out here and win, then it's most likely going to be him knocking out Parker Porter. The only thing is, I just have questions about, what happens when Braxton finally fights someone that's going to fight back. What happens when Braxton fights under those bright lights? What happens when Braxton's on his back? How does Braxton react after round one? Like, we just don't know. So the KO is definitely live. I've seen guys come back from shorter layoffs from getting KO'd and win. Example, Frankie Edgar got knocked out by Brian Ortega, and then a month later he beat Cub Swanson. I believe, y'all might have to correct me on this, but I believe it might have even been in New Jersey. Y'all got to double check that for me. But I know for a fact it was a month after he got knocked out by Ortega, which is the important point, not the conspiracy Jersey point. But basically, I think your head is in the right direction in terms of like, listen, if Braxton's gonna win, it's exactly how you said. So if he wins, great job, man. You'll have cashed a very sharp bet. It's just for me, I need to just see a little bit more before I'm willing to pick him. But I'm definitely not willing to lay this price on Parker. So it's a pass for me. So good luck.
I feel you. You're a much more responsible overall bettor to where you don't have to have something on every fight, and I respect the hell out of you for that.
Listen,
yeah,
man.
I'm trying to win long term.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
Listen,
Exactly.
and like Braxton Smith, let's push this fucking pace, baby. Let's push this pace.
Yeah. Hey, man, beautiful monster. Let's go. They definitely didn't make this fight to showcase Parker Porter. That's the last way I'll put it. Here we go. We got our next fight. We got Phil Hawes. He's got a nickname. No hype. Phil Hawes versus Ikram Aliskerov. His only career loss actually came at the hands of your boy Khaos Williams. And I think you can't really take too much from that fight. But the fact that Ikram was actually booked to kind of be the A side in that fight, and Khamzat kind of comes in, steals the show there. I mean, Aliskerov comes in with a huge combat sambo background, extremely impressive in grappling sequences, but just leaves a lot to be desired from distance. I don't think he's necessarily one of those guys that's going to chin check Phil Hawes. Then again, Phil Hawes can get chin checked by anyone that walks this God's green earth. I mean, probably not by me or you or anything like that, but I mean, anyone that fights in the UFC, I think, has a shot at knocking out Phil Hawes, or at least putting him on roller skates. And at that point, you can wrestle anybody. So I think Aliskerov ultimately is going to end up showing that Phil Hawes can be wrestled at the UFC level. And Guru, why don't you go ahead and bring up what you brought up to me earlier about watching some grappling stuff?
I just felt like Phil Hawes literally had a grappling match with Andre Petrosky on Fury Pro Grappling, and he couldn't get up off his back. Like, it's just a fucking problem. So as much as I kind of wanted to be interested in Phil Hawes here, because Ikram's striking is really poor, really lacks some holes. Has some holes. I met Frankie Edgar once too as well. It was awesome. I just don't like Phil Hawes here. Maybe he murks him. Maybe he gets the knockout. Maybe, if you can get him by knockout at plus 300, so maybe that's a little juicy. But I just think Ikram gets it done. Maybe round 3 decision, because Phil Hawes is a gas machine, a chin issue, and a fucking, and can't and exactly. He got his how the fuck is he back already? He got his knee torn apart and his block knocked off. It was only 6 months. It was 5-6 months ago. I'm just surprised he's back already. And then they did not give him a favorable matchup. So, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, basically, Phil Hawes has everything I want in a fighter except a chin. He's got D1 wrestling. He's got one-punch knockout power. He's a freak athlete. I mean, he's got literally everything except a chin. And that's a big problem because you need durability and, at the highest level, you know what I mean, in the fight game. So, Ikram, is nothing special. And honestly, don't get me wrong, Ikram still got great grappling. He's still like a tough ass Russian. I'm just saying, he's not like the next Khamzat or anything like that. But I honestly think Phil Hawes is the better fighter. It's just gonna really piss me off when he's winning the entire fight and then he gets dropped by a jab, So for that reason, I'm gonna pick Ikram. But I still think it's a dog or pass situation, even with the chin situation.
Amen. Yeah, it's just not worth betting this fight.
I just don't think his chin might not even be the issue in this fight. It might just be his cardio or his defensive grappling. But I would love to listen. Dog price. Hey, don't hate anybody taking a stab.
All right, now we got our next fight. We got Rafael Estevam -180 versus Zhaglas, the newest Beetle, Zhumagulov at +155. Estevam should just have the overall pace and size to. I know not many people do it, but the fact that Zhaglas has been controlled already at 8.45% against the likes of Jeff Molina. I mean, Amir Albazi does most of it, but even Charles Johnson, like some of these guys, Julian Paiva, even they're winning the clinch exchanges against them. So now you get a guy that, isn't kind of frail like Jeff Molina, and Estevam is going to be able to push a pace, and he throws a ton of strikes for his top control. So even if this fight ends up at distance, I know Zhaglas has a bit better pace than he probably will and everything, but I think Estevam should just be comfortable enough to get to the positions that he wants to. I think -180 hindsight, he could probably be one of those guys that should have been one of the bigger favorites on the card, like more towards a, Movsar, Bryce Mitchell original pricing than a -180 in hindsight. I think him and Kennedy could be a good 1 to 2 unit parlay if you wanted to.
Yeah, again in a card where the dogs seem to be barking, I do not find myself pulling the trigger on a dog shot here on the 34-year-old Zhaglas, who retired and then came back and now looks like Coconut Head from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. I don't really understand any of that, what's going on there. Estevam is a decent enough fighter out of Novo now. Technical strikes, decent timing on his takedown attempts, good defensive grappling, good use of scrambles, devastating ground and pound, nice use of the body lock, solid top control. I mean, he's got a specific game plan. He knows what he wants to do. He's going to have the size advantage as well. He should be able to wrestle Zhaglas. I was watching Zhaglas' tape because, again, like you had mentioned, Zhaglas really has not been wrestled very much in the UFC other than Amir Albazi. So I went back and looked at some regional tape, and the fight right before his UFC debut, it's a split decision. The dude is fucking all over him, man. He can't get up off the ground. He goes back down. I like Estevam here.
Yeah, man. I mean, basically, to beat Zhaglas, you got to bully Zhaglas, and I think that's exactly what Estevam's going to do. And not to mention, like you all said, Zhaglas already retired. He's 1-5 in the UFC. He's 5'4" with a 66-inch reach. So, there's going to be a time to fade Estevam, but just probably not this weekend. But credit to Zhaglas. I heard he's got like 6 or 7 wives, so something we can all aspire for. But as far as picking him in a UFC fight, I got to go with Estevam here.
Yeah, his wives are in his ear. That's why he's back. Thank you.
No, that's why he's back. He's got all those fucking bills to pay. God damn. 6 wives? I'm good.
Sheesh. Yep. That's why he looks a little stressed, So anyways, we'll move right along here. We got Joseph, the ugly man, Holmes versus Claudio, the witch doctor, Ribeiro.
I can't believe these fights are actually on a pay-per-view and that we're going. I'm so excited to be for live fights, but what the fuck? Ribeiro needs to come out there and starch Ugly Man, because Ugly Man doesn't have much durability and he doesn't maintain range well. And Claudio Ribeiro, for whatever reason, was pick him versus Abdul Razak Al-Hassan, they're very similar fighters, except Abdul will be willing to wrestle, and he fucking clocked the shit out of him. It was awesome. Right. What do you mean? Were you on Ribeiro? I was on Abdul.
Nah, I'm just saying, listen.
You listen.
You said Holmes isn't durable. You say that, but he got his back taken and choked out by Park, and then he lost a grapple fuck decision to Jamie Pickett. I don't think those are past the victory for Claudio Ribeiro, right? So, I mean, I don't know, man. Holmes is going to be the bigger guy here. Why couldn't he pull it off at a +150? I don't think Claudio Ribeiro is actually a good UFC fighter. I don't think Holmes is either, but I mean, it's dog or pass. I'm just going to pass.
Because you have to hurt him. He's gonna stand and bang. He's got power poses. He's explosive. The calf kick, Holmes is like a fucking twig.
But Claudio's also been clinched by guys that are like 5'7" and like 40 years old. So why couldn't Joseph Holmes and his 17.61% control rate, why, like Jamie Pickett was a big dude that wanted to clinch him, and he was kind of winning a couple of those positions, and then he gasses out.
The Night Wolf, Jamie Pickett, that Jamie.
Ooh, the Night Wolf, baby. Listen,
right,
no, but
Dan, what do you got? His win is Alan Amadovsky, bro. Dan, what do you got?
I mean, I got passed because Ribeiro let me down that last fight, but maybe this time he's gonna come out a little bit better. He already got the octagon jitters behind him. It was coming into that fight, I thought he kind of gave me like Michelle Pereira / like Johnny Walker type vibes. I thought he was gonna be kind of one of those guys. So let's see what happens this time out. And then Holmes, he's got like physical attributes. He's huge. Just hasn't really put it together yet. So I don't know. I see why you say it's a dogger pass situation because there's so many unknowns. But pure pick, I'll go Ribeiro.
That's fair. That's fair.
I agree with you, Dan. Well said. You're an articulate man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got him to laugh. He's like
a good filler. So all right, hey, we made it, man. We're here. We're at the last fight or the first fight, however you want to look at it.
Daniel Santos is must see. Willie Cat is must see TV, man. That dude's a fucking savage. And if one thing is for sure and two things are for certain, you gotta bet the under in a Willie Cat fight.
Jesus Christ.
Got to. And they landed at a juicy under 2.5, minus 155. Jeez. You gotta play that shit. Might even fucking do the alternate line under 1.5. I got Daniel Santos minus 160 because that line and now it's kind of ballooned up to minus 190, which makes me kind of nervous because if you're actually playing Daniel Santos as a favorite, like it's actually kind of fucking insane because the dude was knocked out 12 times against John Castaneda, somehow came back and beat him. So that was fucking crazy. But John said he had the flu or some bullshit. I don't fucking know. What do you guys think?
Listen, man, I think a guy that's only landed more than 20 strikes against the only opponent that he's landed more than 20 strikes against at distance was Ludwig Xiaonan. So his opponent in this fight, now that you've talked plenty about Willie Cat Santos, and he's fighting Johnny Munoz, Kid Kvembo. Thanks, Guru. I'm glad to know what all your plays were. So, anywho, Kid Kvembo, one of the worst nicknames I've ever seen. I'm not quite sure I understand what's going on there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just ignorant. But at the end of the day, Daniel Santos minus 150 earlier in the week. I scooped it. Guru scooped the minus 160. That's the only time I beat Guru on Live Movement this week and in recent memory. But yeah, listen, I just think the guy who has more danger in his hands at any given moment, elite jiu-jitsu, I think he's going to be safe in these sketchy takedowns that Johnny Munoz is trying to attempt. I think Santos is going to be willing to make him pay in all these exchanges. I think he's got much cleaner hands. I see Munoz has got solid output. He just doesn't look comfortable doing it. And I think Santos is one of those guys that's just so fluid, clean striker, and he creates so much more damage. He takes a lot, but I just don't think Johnny Munoz is going to be the guy to really dish it out against him. Hasn't landed a single knockdown in all of his fights so far in the UFC. And, he fought Jamie Simmons and Ludwig Xiaonan and didn't get a single knockdown. So I like Willie Cat Santos here. I liked him more at minus 150, but even at the minus 190, maybe you want to find like a Santos inside the distance here. Maybe Munoz shoots for something, gets choked out. But, he's been knocked out before and knocked out in round 1 by Tony Gravely. I think Santos is a little bit more dangerous. So to close it off, Dan, what do you got here?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with Willie Cat as well, man. I bet him in both of his UFC fights against Arce at plus 160, against Castaneda plus 175. So he's really a guy I like to go out there, bet at the dog price because he's going to give it his all. He's going to go after it, like y'all said, trains out of shooter box. And if the concern is Johnny Munoz black belt, I've seen clips of Daniel Santos in the gym, like tapping out Alain Nascimento, who is a great black belt. And he's also in there with Charles Oliveira and all these guys. So I think he'll be fine. And like you brought up a very good point about how Munoz hasn't landed more than 20 distance strikes in any fight except the Xiaonan Yan fight. And Xiaonan Yan's like 0-3 in the UFC, So I think that basically just the pace and the pressure is probably going to be the difference maker here. So for that reason, I'm going to also go with Daniel Willie Cat Santos.
All right. Hey, and want to say shout out to all you guys one more time in the chat. Shout out everyone that tunes in. You guys make it worth it. Shout out Dan Levy taking time
Literally,
out of his
shout out
busy
fucking
schedule.
Dan Levy to go. It's one of the people I interact with the most on Twitter. I'm like, you're really like one of the homies. Like, I actually wish you didn't live like 600 miles away. We'd probably chill. At least I feel that way.
Well, listen, I mean, maybe like y'all come out to an event. I'm going to be at the Charlotte one in about 2 weeks, and then there's going to be a bunch of other ones nearby in the in our region. So you never know.
Have you ever been to New York City, man? Why don't you come out to New York City?
I have, yeah. I got mad love for New York.
Hell yeah.
Minus the Mets, but yeah.
No, we'll hit up a Mets Braves game, bro.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. You think I'd get jumped?
No, City. Nah. They're not like that. It's not Philly.
Nah. I wore Red Sox stuff at a Yankees playoff game, the one where like they eliminated them. So yeah, as long as you're not like initiating everything, just cheer for your team. You're good. I know you're not. You don't actually try to fight people. You're fine. There's dumbasses, not you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Guys,
no,
thank you so much, Dan. Any last words, buddy, before we let it go?
Nah, I mean, just thank you guys. Thank you to everyone that listened. My show Half the Battle for this week, it's already out, and then my new series Technique of the Week comes out Friday. Just trying to share some knowledge, just make it fun and easy to understand. That's like my goal. Share like a technique per week, try to make it under 90 seconds, preferably under 60 seconds. And this Friday it's going to be the Russian Ronda knee bar. So
that was fucking sick.
Make sure y'all tune in.
Guys, man, the real
if you're
Russian
gonna be
Ronda.
at UFC 288, show us some love. We'll be there. Prudential Center. Can't fucking wait. You can follow TB Scouting MMA, Twitter Verdict, Instagram Tapology, the boy Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. Best fight picks. Give it a follow. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next fucking week.